Hey, it's Tommy from the Run Testers. In this video, we are going to be doing a versus of the Asics Novablast 4 and the Hoka Clifton 9. Now, the Asics Novablast 4 was sent to Nick from the guys over at Sport Shoes. We're not paid to do this review, so we can say whatever we want, but big thanks to Sport Shoes for sending these over so that we can do these versus and reviews. If you go into the caption below, you can find a link to the Novablast 4 on Sport Shoes. This is an affiliate link, so we do make money from it if you decide to buy it. So just keep that in mind if you decide to do that. Right, let's dive in and do the versus. The Hoka Clifton 9 costs £130 or $145. It weighs 247 grams or 8.7 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 5mm. The Asics Novablast 4 costs £135 or $140. It weighs 256 grams or 9 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 8mm. The Clifton 9 sees some modifications to its predecessors, specifically to make it lighter and to offer a higher level of cushioning. It's a shoe designed for comfort over daily runs, featuring a softer compression moulded EVA foam midsole, a breathable engineered knit upper, and a gusseted tongue. The shoe also includes an early stage meta rocker to improve heel to toe transition, a modest covering of outsole rubber for grip and durability, and geometry designed to improve stability. The Novablast 4 sees some big changes from the previous version. The biggest of those is the new FF Blast Eco Plus foam that aims to provide a softer ride with more energy return when you want to pick up the pace. There's also an updated shoe geometry that combines the trampoline-inspired midsole with a higher stack of midsole foam. There's an engineered woven mesh upper that offers a plush fit, as well as plenty of breathability and flexibility, as well as a gusseted tongue to prevent slip. And there's a healthy covering of AHA outsole rubber across the shoe to improve grip and durability.
So I found the fit of the Novablast 4 and the Hoka Clifton 9 to be perfectly good for me in my normal running shoe size. I wear a UK 9 with the Asics, that's a US 10, it's a US 9.5 in the Hoka, so it's a little bit tighter around the front compared to the Asics just because of the way the sizes convert, but it's fine, it fits me perfectly well, and they're both good enough on width for me as well. Now the Clifton may be slightly narrower than the Novablast, but I have a pretty narrow foot, so I haven't really any problems on that front. Quite similar heel designs there. They almost go around the outside of the Achilles, and not so much padding right in the centre at the back, and neither of them have irritated my Achilles or anything like that. So yeah, very happy in my normal running shoe size with both of these.
Okay, so the fit for me in these two shoes, the Novablast 4, I have this in a UK size 8, I'm a UK size 8. I found it to be completely fine. There's plenty of room in the forefoot. The new upper is a little bit more forgiving than the Novablast 3, so it gives you a little bit more space to move your feet around. There's plenty of space before the big toe for me, and I've had no issues at all. I would stick to my size in the Novablast 4. The Hoka Clifton 9, again, size 8 UK. I found this to be very comfortable as well. No issues at all with the sizing of this shoe. It's a Hoka, so they do tend to be a little bit more narrow than some shoes. I don't have particularly wide feet, so I had no issues with it at all. But just take that in consideration. It's always the case with Hokas. But I do think there's a little bit more give in this shoe than some of the Hokas that I've tested. Other than that, I would stick to my size in the Clifton 9 as well.
So I've enjoyed running in both the Asics Novablast 4 and the Hoka Clifton 9. They are both what I would consider kind of mid-level cushioned trainers, so they're pretty versatile. They are got a high level of cushioning. The stack height's very high on the Novablast in particular, but they're not all-out cushioned shoes like something like the Bondi in the Hoka range or the Gel Nimbus 26 in the Asics range. So they are designed to be able to handle a variety of running, and they do that pretty well. I do think both of them are pretty versatile daily trainers. They can do easy runs for sure. They're comfortable enough for me to go out and cruise very long runs in for sure, and then they've got a little bit to them if you're going to try and up the pace. I'd say of the two of them, I prefer doing that in the Asics Novablast 4. I think the FF Blast Plus foam is just a little bit more lively and gives a little bit more back than the foam on the Hoka Clifton 9. Enjoyed doing a session in this shoe. I enjoyed ticking through long runs at a steady and easy pace with some efforts up hills and stuff like that. And I do feel it's the more capable shoe if you are going to go out and run hard and run fast. Same time, I think the Clifton 9 does those runs pretty well as well. It's got a slightly smoother ride with that lower drop there and the rocker. The Asics is pretty smooth itself, but not quite as smooth. I think with the Hoka, you're really relying a bit more on the geometry of the shoe, which is very good and does roll you through your stride quite nicely, whereas with the Asics you get a bit more back from the actual foam. Not so impressed by the midsole foam on the Clifton 9. I think it's just fine. It just provides a pretty neutral platform, but it doesn't really feel very dynamic or exciting underfoot, whereas you do get a bit more bounce out of the Novablast 4 for sure. When I was running in both shoes at the same time, I think the Novablast certainly felt a fair bit softer underfoot, and like I say, a little bit more bouncy. You do get maybe a slightly smoother transition out of the Clifton 9, but I do think the Novablast is quite good on that front, especially the Novablast 4. I haven't actually always found the transition to be that smooth with the Novablast in the past. It was a shoe, I think, that relied a lot on being very bouncy, and maybe the 4 isn't the bounciest version of the Novablast yet, but I think it's the most effective in how it moves you through your foot strike at a variety of speeds. It feels nice ticking along at easy paces, but then, like I say, has got a little bit about it if you are going to go and run fast in them. For me, both of these shoes, I would mostly just do easy runs in them, like the occasional easy to steady run, maybe a tempo run or kind of fartlek intervals. I wouldn't necessarily be taking them down the track or anything like that, but they are both shoes that would work for a one shoe runner in that they are pretty versatile, and they can do a little bit of everything quite well, and I do think they are cushioned enough for easy runs for sure, especially in Novablast. It's got a big old stack of foam here. I know Asics have got even more cushion shoes in its range, but I struggle to think why you'd need more than this. Like, it is a very comfortable shoe for sure.
So these are both two shoes that you're going to look at if you are looking for a daily training shoe. Maybe you looking for one shoe that is going to do all of your running. Maybe you're looking for a shoe as part of a rotation that fits into that daily world between your race shoes and your easy day shoes. So these are both shoes that are going to do that, and they're both shoes that have an interesting development over the history of the lines, because they've changed quite a lot in the last few versions. The Asics Novablast 4 is now on its 4th version, obviously. The first version of the Novablast was really interesting. I love that shoe. It was so bouncy, had a lovely soft midsole foam in it. It was surprisingly exciting to wear that shoe, and it just sort of came out of nowhere. But it was a really wobbly shoe as well, so that was one of the major issues that people had with that shoe. It had a really thin midsole on it, and it was quite high as well, so a lot of people found it as a little bit of an unstable shoe. In the later versions, the brand changed the format of the shoe, made the midsole a bit wider, and made some updates to the midsole foam, and it sort of lost its excitement for me. I never really, especially the Novablast 3, it just didn't really do a lot for me, and I never used that shoe for hardly any runs because I just didn't feel it was giving me anything back. It just is a bit of a workhorse with a dual midsole. The latest version has this new FF Blast Plus eco things, design elements in it, and it is a significantly improved foam. It feels a little bit more responsive. It feels like it compresses in a better way and gives you a little bit more energy back. It just feels like a shoe that has a lot more to it than what you're getting from the Novablast 3. And as a result, it's a much more versatile shoe. So I've used this shoe for lots of different runs. Easy runs, I've used it for longer runs, and I've taken it to track as well and done quite a hard interval session in it. For easy runs, it's great. It's got a lot of cushioning in it. It feels soft enough to run nice and comfortably slow in. For daily runs, it's great. It just gets you out there, feels really comfortable, and just helps you along. There's a nice little rocker feel to it. It's just a great, solid daily shoe. For faster runs, it's not a speed shoe, but it does the job. It's not bad. When I was doing intervals in it, it felt like I could pick up the pace nicely. It wasn't going to compete with some of my carbon plate race shoes and things like that, but it really felt like it had a bit more to this shoe, and I would never have said that about the Novablast 3. So I think the Novablast 4 has become a very solid, daily, versatile shoe that may be the sort of shoe that people pick up as their one shoe. And I'd even go as far as to say that if you were looking to run a marathon, half marathon, and you wanted one shoe to do that in, that you could also do training in, I think this is a good shoe for that. I could definitely run a marathon comfortably in this shoe and pick up the pace a bit as well. I don't think I'm going to get a PB in it, but I definitely think it's a shoe that could do marathon training and racing perfectly well. The Hoka Clifton 9. Now, I've never liked the Clifton range. I've always found the midsole foam in the Cliftons to be very, very dull. I always hated testing some of the earlier Clifton shoes because the EVA foam that was in those shoes just didn't feel like it did anything. It just felt very, very dull and just very solid. Just a solid slab of midsole foam that didn't really do a lot. The new midsole foam in the Clifton 9 is way better. It's a lot more enjoyable. It has a little bit more softness in it. It feels like it's got a little bit more energy return in it. And overall, it's just a much more enjoyable, comfortable ride. I've done probably about 60k in this shoe, and some of that was a race. I did the winter run in London in this shoe. I wasn't racing it, but I was running at an all right pace, and it felt great. I really found it to be a comfortable shoe to wear when I was picking up the pace a bit. I wouldn't say it's as versatile as the Novablast 4. I think that the foam in the Novablast 4 is just better. It's just a little bit, there's a bit more energy in it, return in it. It's got a better rocker in the design. It's just a shoe that's a little bit more versatile, a little bit more performance-based than the Clifton 9. But I still think the Clifton 9 is a solid shoe and definitely a comfy, relatively stable shoe that just does a good job for daily runs. And for most people, it's a great do-it-all shoe, I think. So yeah, both solid shoes, but I just think the Novablast just has a little bit more to it in terms of versatility. The outsole on the shoes, the Novablast 4 has a slightly updated outsole. Fine, I've not had any issues with this outsole at all on the wet paths and roads in Brighton. It's not the most, there's not loads of rubber on this outsole. There's little bits of exposed midsole foam on it, but it's fine, not any issues at all. And a slight improvement on the Novablast 3. Clifton 9, there's not a lot of rubber on this outsole, but the midsole is actually starting to wear a little bit for me. So I'd say the outsole on the Clifton 9 is not great because I think that over time this exposed midsole is going to start to get problems, and the way that I run generally rubs down this side of the shoe. So the grip's fine on the wet ground and things like that. I just don't think there's enough covering for that now slightly more delicate midsole foam. Okay, so my verdict on these two shoes, bit of a tricky one. I do think they're both good shoes. I actually really like the Clifton 9 now. I think it's a really comfortable, enjoyable daily trainer. Both good at easy runs. I just think it all comes down to that versatility, and I think the Novablast 4 has more versatility. You can just do a lot more in this shoe. I think it's a great all-round shoe now, and I never said that about the Novablast 3. So I think definitely if I was looking for a solid shoe to do easy runs, to do daily runs, and to be able to do a bit more in it, maybe even race in it if I was looking for a more comfortable time, great, I'd go for the Novablast 4. I think it's a good value option. I think it does a lot now, and it takes learnings from some of the mistakes that were made in the Novablast 3. Clifton 9, I do think it's a solid shoe. I just don't think it's as versatile, and I think any of the benefits that you get from the Clifton 9 you're getting in the Novablast 4 anyway, as well as that versatility. So I'm going to go for the Novablast 4.
Do think both of these are really good shoes. I think they are both reasonably well priced as well, in that slightly lower than the really top band of cushion shoes price bracket they're both in. They're both shoes that pop up in sales, I think, as well, because they have got a few generations here. Of the two of them, I do prefer the Novablast myself. I do prefer the ride feel a little bit. I find it a little bit more lively underfoot for faster runs, but still very comfortable, probably even more comfortable than the Clifton for long runs as well. So all around, it's the shoe I prefer of the two, but the Clifton 9 is another really good shoe as well. Got a slightly lower drop if you prefer that in a shoe. I wouldn't say the difference in drop was massively noticeable when I was running in both of them at the same time, but there is that factor to all Hokas. Got a nice smooth ride here with the rocker, but overall the Novablast 4 is a shoe I prefer as just the more versatile, more fun shoe to pick up and wear for a nice variety of runs. Okay, that's it from us on this Versus. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the little bell and all those things that make us smile. And if you go into the caption below, you can find a link to the Asics Novablast 4 on sports shoes. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.